Thanks so much for coming over here, Sue.
Thanks, John.
Great having you here. Okay, now I've been nailed down to this desk this morning, but I heard one of the announcements saying that, Ford had a surprise announcement. What you guys announced this morning?
It wasn't our announcement, but the Green Car the Green Car Journal gave us their Vision Award for the Focus Electric. So that was the big surprise.
Fantastic.
And we really appreciated it. Not only did it recognize the Focus, but really our vision for our family of vehicles, including our hybrids, our plug-in hybrid, and the battery electric.
So what are you doing here in Washington, D.C. besides just coming to the auto show? You know, wrestling with the regulators and the legislators over future regulations?
We did a vehicle-to-vehicle demonstration fleet.
Explain that a little bit. Yeah.
It's really a very nice vision of what could happen in the future as this technology advances, but it's using Wi-Fi to be able to communicate and see what's ahead.
From car to car.
From car to car. So the cars are talking to each other, basically, and allowing us to avoid a lot of accidents that are caused because people run a red light or you don't see what's happening a couple vehicles ahead of you. And so while the radar systems today can see what's in the line of sight, these cars can see everything around.
Beyond that. Is it just Wi-Fi or is it using more than just that for communication?
It's using Wi-Fi, but it allows us not only to talk from vehicle to vehicle, but vehicle to infrastructure too. So you'll be able to do a lot with the lights and the timing of those things.
Now, is this just going to warn drivers or is it actually going to take control of the car if an accident's imminent?
Sure, it can do some pre-braking and it actually could take control of the vehicle too. We first want to give the warning, but then we could take action if it's necessary.
Because I had seen some V2V, vehicle to vehicle,
right.
You know, that's the acronym,
right.
Just so our viewers know
right.
about that. Where you can literally make it physically impossible for cars to crash into each other, wherein the engine would de-throttle and maybe even apply the brake so that two cars cannot occupy the same space at the same time.
Yeah, and that ideally is our goal, to prevent accidents from ever occurring in the first place. So really exciting technology.
When do you think we might see V2V, or at least in its early stages, like you're talking about, of warning the driver?
Right. Well, we are saying between 5 and 10 years, depending on how quickly all the vehicles get that technology. And we have some intersections we have in Dearborn today that are working that way. So it's a test lab for us, and we're adding 20 vehicles into our fleet, working with the government to do some more testing and adding a number of engineers to look at these projects because we think there's a lot of promise.
I got to believe there's humongous progress.
Right.
And potential. Has anyone done any studies as to what the possible reduction in traffic fatalities could be?
Yes, there's been studies saying that about 81% of the accidents could possibly be avoided because these are ones that are basically intersection type accidents or somebody slowing down a couple cars ahead.
Massive.
It's huge potential. And they're not all life-threatening accidents, but they're accidents that cause...
But that would imply that maybe we could get an 80% reduction in traffic fatalities.
Well, not all these accidents would be life-threatening type accidents, but they're injuries, there's cost of repairing the vehicle. I mean, it's a societal cost, it's pretty large.
Okay, now let's take that down the road and let's pretend that all cars have this technology.
Right.
Can't you start taking structure out of a car? We put so much structure in to be able to smash into walls or other cars. Is there an opportunity to start making cars a lot lighter?
I think it depends on how quickly this technology is around on all vehicles. But you always have the issue about the trees and the bridge abutments and stuff that's around there. So I think, our goal is to be the most efficient in terms of moving the vehicle down the road, but still providing some protection around the driver. So we got to find that right balance.
Okay, V2V is a hot button. What else?
Well, certainly fuel efficiency. One of the things that we're really proud of, we showed today not only our Focus battery electric, but our C-Max Energy, which is our plug-in hybrid that's coming out next year. And excited about that because it's got a 500-mile range. And when you think about it, it really can fit the needs of almost everybody.
And those are all, plug-in, electric, any other thing. We've been talking a little bit earlier with Jim O'Donnell from BMW about diesel. You see that happening?
Well, our focus has been on our EcoBoost engine, which is downsized and turbocharged, so we get the performance of the bigger engine, but the fuel economy of a smaller engine. So a nice sweet spot to be in. And with that GDTI technology, it's getting the performance of a diesel, basically, but we have the after treatment for gasoline, so it's a real benefit for us. We can do it much more cost effectively.
I think that's a great point. You know, once you get to direct injection and turbocharging, that's a lot of the same technology that really makes diesels sing.
That's right, and we have a lot of history on gas engines in terms of the after treatment, not so much experience in the U.S. on diesel because our emission requirements are much tougher, so we think we found the right balance here with our EcoBoost engine.
Okay, some of the big talk here in D.C. as well is the post-2017 CAFE standards.
Yes,
Mike Stanton was on here earlier. He's saying it could go down anywhere between 42 miles to the gallon or 62 miles to the gallon. Well, where does Ford come down on
we don't like
this?
to talk about numbers because what we really have to make sure, and this was one of the things that we were reassured by the Secretary of Transportation as well as the EPA Administrator, that we're going to be data-driven. So everybody's working together. We're working as partners on this. So we've got the DOT as well as EPA and CARB all working with us to really let the data guide us. And so I think it's way too early to talk about numbers. We have to talk about not only what the technology is, but you're talking about over almost 10 years from now. Or actually more than that, but this is 2011, so 2025 is 14 years from now. So the crystal ball isn't all that clear. So we got to make sure that we're planning appropriately, using the data to drive us, and then really, working collectively to make it affordable, because we got to work on that too.
Yeah, and I like that approach. Let's make it science-based, not just pulling numbers out of thin air.
You bet.
Hey, we got a question here from the chat room. Will Ford make a decision? Well, this is pretty technical. This is from HTG. Will Ford make a decision between using ARM, x86, and MIPS-based processors, or will it be at all?
I'll tell you, that's way beyond my level of understanding. We have our Chief Technical Officer here. He'll have to answer that one.
Okay, Michael Coates wants to know, how much impact do Wi-Fi and other systems have on electrical needs of future vehicles? For example, the Volt, I think he means the Chevy Volt, has a 12-volt battery to run auxiliary systems and bring up the panel before the car starts. So some of these V2V and whatnot, what kind of an electrical load does that put on the car?
Again, I'm not really sure about that, but I don't think that's a significant load. I think it's different than other accessories and things, but these are pretty low-power electronics, I would imagine.
And the Legislative Geek wants to know, what needs to happen in the American market to attract more people to diesel? Government education, consumer marketing, other kind of education?
Well, again, I think our view with the EcoBoost engine is we can approximate the fuel economy of the diesel, so we're really pushing that aspect of it. Although we do think there's a lot of applications for diesel on some of our trucks and things like that. I do think that the whole clean diesel, people need to understand that it is clean and that there's a lot of opportunities for biofuels, both biodiesel as well as ethanol and other advanced technology fuels.
Ford got knocked recently by Consumer Reports for the MyFord Touch system.
Right.
What are your concerns about them criticizing you for having brought out this technology, and are there any changes that you think that you need to make to it?
Well, we're always learning, and we think that we were really leading edge, and we still believe that what we're doing is the right thing. You whole hands on the wheel, eyes on the road. Certainly, we spend a lot of time with our customers in the dealership to make sure that they're aware of the controls and how to operate them. Consumer Report has a bias for knobs and dials, and I think it just depends on what you want to do. We think that people are used to a lot of these controls in their everyday life, especially the thumb controls on the wheels, where you're used to how to navigate. Doesn't take a lot to do that. And so we're going to continue to learn from what they say. The beauty of our MyFord Touch and MyLincoln Touch and our sync technology is we can upgrade all that as we make changes, and so it's not like you have to wait for the next version to come along. You can come in and get those upgrades, so we think that's very positive for us.
And the whole driver distraction issue is a big one here at the Washington D.C. Auto Show and in Washington in general. What other things do you think Ford can be looking at to ameliorate that situation?
Right. Well, certainly we think nobody should be texting and driving, and I think that's pretty much a given, and we discourage handheld cell phones as well. In fact, I put out a policy letter to all our employees saying that we've banned handheld cell phone use in our cars and obviously texting. And so we have to work more to educate people along that line. Again, we believe that keeping your hands on the wheels and your eyes on the road is really an important aspect. And all the voice commands that you can do on Sync and MyFord Touch really make a big difference, because then people can be focused on what's going on.
You said that you're spending time with the consumers in the showroom teaching them this. That is critical, because I know the first time I had a car to test drive with the MyFord Touch system, I just jumped in it and went. And it was like very difficult for me to figure out how to get what I wanted.
And we never want people to figure out as they're driving their car home. And I think that's what's really important. It's true with all the automotive journalists and things. They're so used to just jumping from car to car. But this is different technology. And we very carefully walk the customers through that. Plus, with their phone, we have these smart tags where you can snap the label there, and it gives you videos that download to your phone, tell you how to use them. And I think people are very comfortable with that technology. It's new, and we got to be open to new things too.
You really do need to spend some time, learning these systems, not just jumping in the car and driving off, as I learned myself.
That's true. But I think that's true of anything new. I mean, I just bought a new TV, and you look at the owner's guide, and I think what we've done is try to make it more user-friendly, and people learn in different ways. Some people like brochures, some people like the audio guide. We make sure the dealers have a checklist of what to go over with customers, and I think it's been a very successful look for us. 80% of the people who have purchased Sync that was their reason to buy. I mean, it's a huge reason to buy.
Is when it gets to the Consumer Reports people, is it a generational divide here? You've got older guys driving cars that maybe aren't, using smartphones and iPads and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I think, we have a really good working relationship, and we'll both learn from all this stuff. But I think there is a bias when you're used to certain things, and now you're offering something new. And I think it's just a difference of opinion, but we'll certainly work our way through that.
Here's a funny one. Question from the chat room. What's the etiquette for waiting for someone to stop texting when the light turns green?
That's great. Well, I'll tell you what, for a lot of the young people, I mean, asking them not to use cell phones and other things is like asking them not to breathe.
Yeah, right.
So we know people are going to be bringing these things into their vehicle, and we want to do it in as safe a way possible, but we never want people texting. That's certainly the thing not to do.
Another question from the chat room. Since Ford maintains a large global footprint, what sort of sustainability focus has Ford placed on its physical facilities, both future standards and retrofitting current ones?
That's a great question, because we have done a lot of work on our facilities in terms of reducing our energy use, worrying about conserving water. We have a conservation of water policy that we launched back in 2000, and we've reduced all our water use. We have solar power in our plant in Valencia. We have wind power in our plant in Dagenham. We're doing a lot of geothermal work. I mean, we're really looking at a lot of different opportunities. And even in Michigan, we're going to introduce a lot of LED lighting that'll be driven off of solar energy, even in Michigan when it isn't all that sunny. So we're really looking at all the different things.
So is Ford actually reducing the amount of energy that it uses as a company every year?
Yes, we are. And we have a year-over-year targets in terms of where we're going. Our overall reduction, we made a commitment. We were members of the original founders of the Chicago Climate Exchange, the CCX. And so we made year-over-year reductions. And so I don't know what our total is, but I think it's over 11% reduction over the last few years of our energy use. But every plant, we have a target for not only energy and water, but even land use, refills, and to be able to not put waste into landfills and that type of thing. So we're really focused on the whole environmental aspect of it.
Well, that's terrific. With that, we're going to have to wrap it up, Sue. But thanks so much for stopping by. This has been very interesting. It's great to hear Ford as a company is using less energy every year.
Well, thanks a lot, John. Good to see you. Okay.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
AutoLine Live from the Washington, D.C. Auto Show is brought to you by our Inner Circle sponsor, Bosch, invented for life, and also by Dow Automotive Systems, innovations for clean powertrain solutions, and by the Steel Market Development Institute, automotive steel technologies powered by strength, fueled by innovation.